First, we'll start by creating a container using a div element, then two adjacent divs. We'll call one card section and the other one will be the form section. Starting with the card section, let's create a div called cards, inside of which we'll have a front card div and a back card div. Let's write the code for the front card. Now let's write the code for the back card. Now onto the right section of the page, the form section. But first, since this section of the page becomes this, once the confirm button is clicked, it means the right section will have two parent elements, a form element and a thank you div. For now, let's give the thank you div a class hidden using displayNone and make it appear only after the user completes the required fields and clicks on the button. The form element will have 3 blocks and a button element with ID submit button. Here's the code for block 1. And the code for block 2. And finally, the code for block 3. Here's what our HTML file would look like. We'll start by defining our variables using the getElementById function to access the input number element. We'll do the same thing for the input elements of the name, month, year, and CVC, as well as the elements appearing on the card, including the card number, name, month, year, and CVC. And finally, the submit button, the form element, and the hidden thank you element. Now let's define the functions that will display the user input on the card. Then we'll add an event listener that fires when a key is released and runs the corresponding function that we defined. Starting with the setCardNumber function, we'll access the text inside the card number element, which is set to zeros right now, using the innerText property. Then we'll set it to the e.target.value. After formatting it, we'll define this formatting function later. If you're wondering what's the e.target.value, just know that this is the e or the event. This is the e.target or the element that fired the event. And the input typed by users inside this field will be the e.target.value, which we will use in our function to display instead of the default zeros. So once this event is fired by the input element, this function will run, parsing the user input here, then formatting it, then parsing that as the new text for the card number element. So to change every text displayed on the card into what the user types in the input fields, we'll repeat the same process for the card name and its input name field, the card month and its input month field, as well as the year and CVC fields. Next, we will define the format function, which takes some s and ensures it's a string. The replace method takes 2 arguments, the substring we want to replace, and what we want to replace it with. In our case, we want to insert a space after every 4 digits. We will achieve this using regular expressions. Forward D expression matches digit characters 0 to 9. Curly braces 4 matches 4 of the preceding token. And the last expression means that our match is to be followed by any character except line breaks, but that's not to be included in our match. $& refers to the result matched by the previous regular expression, which will be 4 consecutive digits from the user input. $& space tells the replace method to insert a space after every 4 digits matched. For comparison, you will see that $& inserts a question mark after every 4 digits. Let's write a function to handle the button click that submits the form. It has 2 jobs. One is to reveal an error message on any fields left empty, or if the card number had less than 16 digits. 2 is to check that required fields are filled with the appropriate data, and if all the requirements are met and the confirm button is clicked, the form is to be hidden and the thank you div is to be revealed. Starting with number 1, we'll prevent the default, then check if the input name value is empty. If so, the error class is added to input name class list, and error message class is added to class list of the parent element of input name, both of which we defined in the CSS file. We'll repeat the same steps with the input number, input month, input year, and input CVC, but in the case of input number, we'll check that it has 16 digits. The second part of the function checks if required fields have been filled properly, then removes the class hidden from thankyoudiv and adds it to the form. Here's what our JavaScript will end up looking like.